After citizen comments, to speak about taxes, possibly.
Sure.
Okay. Our first order of business is to approve meeting minutes from September 16th. And I will make a motion to approve.
A second.
Any discussion?
Looks good to me.
Okay. Our next order of business is to approve the minutes from our special meeting on Tuesday, September 24th.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
I'll second. Is there any discussion? This is the one where we got no bids.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and the last order of business, or the last one is the minutes from September 25th, special meeting to take bids for 4283 Route 100. I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
This section is citizen comments. Does anybody have any order of business that they want to raise? Okay. Our next order of business then is the errors and omission certificate. And Angela, this is the one that you have to certify? And you've read through this? Okay. Then I'll make a motion to approve the errors and omission certificate.
A second. I don't think it requires any signatures, just
Angela's signature.
Angela's signature.
Skip over citizen comments?
No, I just asked.
Sorry?
I just asked. Did you want to revisit that? We can revisit that. What's up, Carol?
So I just need a little help on the schedule for select board meetings, because, I kind of understood the summer where we were having them like once a month, but are we still bi-monthly?
They're usually 2 a month unless there's a holiday.
Yeah, because, so far this year, we've only had 2 months that have had 2 in it. We've had a lot of special meetings.
You can look on the website if you're looking for.
I did look on the website.
There you go.
Yeah, well, no, but I'm just saying that, it's like, sometimes it's hard to anticipate, I actually missed a whole bunch that I wanted to come to, but because I wasn't here. So, like, are you planning on having them bi-monthly, or?
Unless there's a holiday.
Okay, well,
Yeah, and those are the ones, like, I think 4th of July.
Labor Day, one fell on Labor Day, so we didn't have it.
So, yeah, if they're on a holiday, we don't have them.
yeah, okay, so our next one is when?
See, isn't our next one on a holiday?
It's on the agenda tonight to pick it.
I know, it's just big play.
There you go.
21st.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
21st.
Carol, the only other time we would not have a meeting also, if there's a regular scheduled meeting, is if there's nothing on the agenda to talk about. If there's no new business to address, we might skip one.
Right.
But that's rare.
I know, and you guys have mentioned that before, but then I noticed like there's a whole bunch of special meetings that were all in between. So, anyway, it just, if that's what we're planning on, then that's what I'll just rely on. But particularly the summer was really hard, because it was really just once a month, which is fine, if that's the way it's scheduled, so.
And most of these meetings were, a lot of them recently were just for bids, for, the house down on Route 100. To
Right,
restore the
well, there was
service.
a couple of executive sessions as well.
Yeah, so if we have HR stuff that we don't wanna speak in public, we do those.
Yeah.
So, but generally first and third. Next on the list, I have the STR discussion. And what we've noticed is a spike in short-term rentals, and that trend continues. At our last meeting, we discussed how short-term rentals have contributed to an increase in property values. At least we believe that is part of the issue. And then as a result of that, in Plymouth, we tend to pay higher school taxes. And school taxes are around 75 or 80% of our tax bill. And that's because our assessments have gone up so much. And we believe part of that is second home ownership, in which STRs have contributed to that. And we looked at fees. I did a little research. West Windsor just passed a short-term rental ordinance. I can't seem to pull that up. And their fees in West Windsor are a base fee of $150, and it's $150 per occupant, which is basically $300 a bedroom. Our fees here are $300 base fee and $400 per bedroom for non-resident. And then I went and I looked up in Woodstock just to see what they were doing, and an owner is $1,000 base fee, $500 per bedroom. And then Woodstock non-resident is $3,000 base fee and $500 per bedroom. So a 3-bedroom home, a fee over there is about $4,500 a year to register your short-term rental. And so this just comes as part of the discussion to think about what we are facing in terms of fees. We do think that short-term rentals have added to the tax burden in Plymouth because of the high assessments, or at least I believe that. And I think it might be worth recouping some of those tax dollars through increasing fees in terms of an ordinance to provide some tax relief to citizens.
Were those values based on when people, especially out-of-staters, bought a property at an inflated rate during COVID, or is it something else?
Well, I think that, right, we all know what has happened with the real estate market, and I do believe that short-term rentals are one component of that has enabled second home ownership at a little bit higher rate. I think second home ownership across the state is about 3%. I didn't look what it is. In Plymouth, we're probably closer to 30-40%. Is it 60? 60%, okay. So we're disproportionately affected by short-term rentals.
We haven't gone through our reassessment yet, though. Blanket reassessment. So houses are selling, but it's not necessarily, it's not affecting my home value yet because we haven't gone through the reassessment.
It's affected us all through the CLA. Right. That's like the one thing where you see it, because they know we're under assessed. Like we get that 40% rate increase on the tax bill. Steve, I'm sorry, I kept passing you.
That's okay. So, I mean, I know what I read in the paper about raising it, something was said about $1,000. I know the original conversation, Rick and I were on board together, and there was another member of that. I know I presented a pay schedule, similar to, I guess, what other towns have, and similar to what we have set up now. But the fees were, I think it was, I'm gonna say $600 for the house in the first bedroom, and $400 for each additional bedroom. And that was basically to level the playing field, because it would be equitable for somebody who only had a one-bedroom home. You know, why should they pay an exorbitant amount on that? The other proposal that I did make, and I think one of the things, backing up a second, is that keeping the fare low, it helped get people on board a little quicker, I think. So I think that was a plus and a bonus on that part. But I also think in certain instances, and I know that there are a few people that are residents of Plymouth that have short-term rentals that have, at least with a contiguous piece of property on that. And I think with that, perhaps, there should be some sort of I won't say relief, but maybe I will, for lack of a better word on that, where they would only pay what the administrative costs were on that. So if there was a percentage, because I don't know how the pay scale is now, I know it was when I was the administrator, is that whatever the fee is, then the administrator would get a percentage of that, maybe to make it equal to what he's getting now. And anything in addition to that would go, my feeling, I would like to see it go towards the fire department for apparatus, which would also give a little relief for taxes as well on that, but also for scholarships to attract maybe, people say, wow, they got a great plan and my kids go to school, Plymouth offers a great scholarship, for people that have gone and tenured K through 12. So that's kind of my feeling on it, and I think, as much as I was against some of the administrative things on that, I think Frank's doing a good job on that, and I think, and I know Rick's behind that as well. So that's about what I have to say on that.
Greg?
Yeah, so I'd like to ask, are you saying that the increase in those rates to STRs, would that money be credited to the townspeople to offset the school budget?
Or
Our share of school
at least municipal taxes, which lowers taxes overall for folks. Frank?
I expressed my opinion last year, basically agree with what Steve said about trying to get new people in. What I do question a little bit is that the statement that property values are going up because of short-term rentals. I think there's a small sample size and very many variables in what goes into making the house value what it is, interest rates, location.
Recording in progress.
In my experience, what people are doing is they're buying the house because they want a home in Vermont to ski. They have to be here all the time, but they also want to pay their taxes and their fuel bill. And they can pay, and a mortgage. They can't pay those three things in their short-term rental. It's a wash for them and they're happy. As far as, I know in places like Plymouth and even Woodstock, there are many people who come in and speculate on buying an Airbnb to property. I haven't seen that in the people that I have met in Plymouth. It seems to be more individual people just buying a house and wanting to maybe retire here. They want to ski for cheap or whatever reason. So just random thoughts on that.
I would tend to agree with you, Frank, because we went around in the circle last time we talked about this. And we have to be very careful about demonizing the second homeowner. I just listened to Allison Clarkson rant and rave the other night at our, Weathersfield candidate forum about, we have to crack down on the second homeowners. I mean, it's the United States of America. Owning a second home is supposed to be not necessarily a privilege, but something that a lot of people subscribe to. So the idea that home values are increasing because of STR, I don't necessarily agree with that premise either. I think it's a factor for sure, but like Bruce pointed out, a lot of people come on player after COVID, they bought houses because they wanted to get out of Dodge, they were paying a lot more money than what we were used to seeing being paid for them, but just to illustrate the point, on my drive here this evening, I drive past 6 houses that are for sale. So, if there's a housing crisis, I mean, go by one of these 6 houses, I don't correlate any of the bigger picture things with, STR specifically. It's one factor in a bigger pot of reasons why property values are, higher than, we're used to, over, whatever, put your timeline out and project it backward or forward, So I don't see we should demonize second homeowners, especially in our town, bring them onto the program for sure, charge them a reasonable fee, but not like, because they're a revenue stream, we just exact more money out of them, especially the 62 people that are, you're not gonna get any more people to come on if you didn't milk them and beat the hell out of them, you'll have the 60.
From all of these, I probably hear from more out of town people than most people in town. And they pay it as a necessary evil. It's probably cheaper than their fees in New York. But they still is a lot of resentment on increasing taxes and the fact that they have no vote, but they're being taxed on this. It's a common theme that I hear.
I wonder how much money people are making on a short-term rentals.
Just for kicks, on the week of Christmas, a lot of the houses in Plymouth are renting around $3,500, $4,500 a week.
I think that'd be a consideration once you decide the fair amount to charge.
Well, local people certainly don't have an opportunity to rent out their homes for,
No.
month after month.
I would not extrapolate $3,500 a week times 52.
Correct.
weeks. I think you're looking at the average person is probably making grossly 10 to 20,000, and there may be some bigger homes that rent more and might be in the 25,000 range, but there's not people making $100,000 a year.
It is a good business model though, I mean, when you think, 'cause I knew there was one across the street, they paid all their expenses and still were making $25,000, $30,000 a year, and then sold that house. And they built equity, so that has to be calculated into that fact.
I think it's a dying phenomenon. Airbnb craze has kind of peaked and it's, their stock has been hammered. Most people don't
I think
have
it's leveled out.
the chops to be a landlord. They discovered that fairly quickly. And, a lot of houses went up for sale for that reason because they didn't want to stick it out and try and rent these places out. And I don't, projecting into the future, I don't see that it's going to be as popular as it was during COVID or right after COVID. It's just.
To back that up, I think you see, there's not enough hotel rooms in the low Hillington area in wintertime, especially the 3 holiday weekends. But there's plenty during the summer, and this is what it's slow summer for most of the people that I've spoken with. You may get people now because it's only just weekends, big weekend. But except for that, wintertime is busy, but that's about it. For they just found enough hotel rooms for the 20 or 30,000 people that come to Ludlow on Christmas week.
And the hotels in Rutland, I went by a couple today. No way.
I can share my screen.
What's up, Brian?
Yeah, I just want to add, with the school tax and the short-term rental, right? I think we'd be chasing our tails if we thought that paying for the school tax, we can raise money for this entity or that entity within the town. I think we're fooling ourselves. I think what we have to look at is our portion of school tax. Why is it so high with 77 school kids? How many millions do you send to Montpelier for education on behalf of the students?
Like $5 million.
5 million divided by 77 kids. I understand 77 is enrollment. I think that is what we have to look at. I don't think picking apart, the town's budget to find money to pay for the difference. I think we have to look at how it's structured and fight that cause.
Agree with you. And just for, so you can see, that's the short-term rental in Vermont, the active homes. It's gone from And it just,
Starting point.
it does continue to grow. Under 2000 and 2015, I mean, it was relatively unknown at that point, right? And then we spiked in 2017 to about 7,000 homes. And it looks like in 2023, it started to jump back up again to almost 12,000 homes across the state. This is across the state of Vermont. So it seems like the conversion rate is still pretty high.
I'm not following that. Is that the number of houses for rent or is that dollars?
That's number of houses for rent. You can see the drop during COVID in this 2020. Because people stayed in them full time and then the conversion rate back to STRs is.
And see the dates.
Because of that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a good example of high rates. I read a story just this morning that Stowe passed their short-term regulation, and they have a company managing it, and they're paying close to $50,000 a year just for managing the process.
Oh, and what kind of revenue did they bring in? Do you have any idea?
It's gotta be high.
That's not
We've got more than 1,000 units.
Yeah. And they're getting the $1,000 an annual weekend.
So if you just take a look at the Airbnb or Airbnb, you could see that on average, this house is rented for at least $200 a night. So when we're talking about our SCR fee, so it's just one night and they done without a base fee. So maybe, it's a 400 4-bedroom house, so then it will be what, $500, so that means 2-3 days and they're done, they pay for it. So a little bit of the increase on the fee does make sense, just because of the inflation. We don't want to discourage people to register with us, but we don't want to be too low, because the trend we all see that is growing. It will grow.
There was a gentleman here last time we talked about this that made a point that, there's other business, there's plumbers, electricians, whatever, name whatever business you want, but we're not saying, well, you made, $1,000 putting in this boiler, so we should take, $300. It's the same with somebody that's renting a property. Just because they're making X amount of money, it doesn't entitle us to take some of it. And we're making easy pickings of stacking homeowners because it's just a revenue stream that we can easily exploit because it's an ordinance that was passed in the town. We could pass other ordinances too. Would that be right? I don't know. Let's pass an ordinance on plumbers and just say we're going to, if you operate a plumbing company, and we're going to take a percentage of your take on a plumbing job you're doing in Plymouth. I mean, it's just endless, but it's a point, that was made by a gentleman that was here. So I say that I agree that the fee is, could be bigger, but should it be bigger? I mean, I don't know. If you own a property, you already pay tax. You're paying property tax. And in the case of like a lake house, you're paying a lot of property tax. So if I want to rent my lake house and I'm in the program and I'm paying fees, does that entitle the town to come and say, well, we're going to take more because you're making more? I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense. It's not a...
No, I didn't make the point that, because we have to take our share. No, it just everything, our fees are growing as well, right? So the fire department, we take care of every town, so their salary has to be growing. It just the trend that with the inflation, everything, the fee is also will be going up. But we don't have to, we don't have to raise it as much as we used to. So we just have to be kind of balanced and find this right medium, how much.
What's the average, like if you had to pull a number, Frank, out of your hat, like what's the average number that a typical rental house pays as all the fees when it's all said and done? What do they pay?
$600 to $800.
Okay, let's just take the high point, $800. So I own a whatever 2-bedroom house on the lake and I pay $10,000 in property taxes. Then you come and tell me you're gonna pay another $800. Okay, I'll bite that bullet. Then when I come to you and say we want another 4 or 5, whatever, what do you? I'd be like, screw you. I'm going to sell the house. It's not worth it. I mean,
I mean, that 800 you're paying right there, there's a tank of, now oil, there's a tank of oil. Okay, so there's my tank of oil money, so now I gotta take 800 bucks out of my pocket to put my oil, like any business, it's inputs, outputs. If you're renting a property, you got inputs, you got electricity, you got property taxes, fuel oil, maintenance, and on and on. It's
Like any other business.
Bruce, you have any other? Bruce has his hand up. Sorry.
Jake, you started talking about this, it's on the agenda, but is it accompanied with some sort of proposal? You're looking for suggestions on what to do, if anything, about short-term rentals?
I mean, we're open, we're here having a conversation, I
But
just,
you've always open to that. It's on the agenda this time. I'm curious why.
so we were talking about raising fees at the last meeting and just continuing the conversation. We didn't come up with a proposal yet, just trying to understand like where people sit.
Like I said, my point, where I sit, I'll just stop talking.
We don't have to go on and on forever with this, but I also think, people are going to expect to pay a little more, and that's fine. We're not going to gouge people, I don't think that's our intent. But getting a little bit more probably is the proper thing to do, in my opinion.
I call it giving back to the community, because where does that, a lot of that money, even though people come up here, I watch them, they bring a lot of their own stuff, which is fine, that's what I would do. But, it impacts the community, it impacts the roads. I know the road that I live on, I don't know how many times I've got people unstuck on my road that were renting, or they were lost, they knocked on my door at 11 o'clock. There's nobody there now, but it does impact that. And where does that money go? So they make, I'm gonna just say, they make $30,000 a year. Are they also paying taxes back to the state of Vermont, for wages on that? Because that is a wage, you know what I mean? So we know that they're paying rooms and meals, like a hotel, and, Tom down there, he pays income tax as well to the state of Vermont. Do we know that for a fact? Is it getting back to the state as well on that? I wouldn't know how to go about finding
Well,
that.
there's a 3% fee that has been added for short-term rentals.
I'm sorry?
Just last year, a 3% fee was added for short-term rentals. A tax. The state, that goes to the state.
Right, but that's kind of like attached to, that's not an income tax though.
No, but in addition to that, there's the restaurant, the lodging tax, there's a 3% fee. Then as any income you make, net income is taxable to the federal government and the state of Vermont.
Right, but I'm just saying, how do we know that that's, that it's going back to at least the state? The federal we can't control, but the state, exactly, that's like,
Well, I take it right out of the fees. It's done automatically.
That's true.
So, unless you're doing this on your own, Vacasa, Airbnb, all those properties will withdraw your relief on your income.
I have some comments. 2 points I would like to make. Let's not forget that renting your home is a commercial business. It's been ruled that by labor and industry. That's why it has to go through fire marshal's inspections. If you're gonna have a commercial property, you have to have it inspected. And the second point I wanted to make is, if you can afford a second home in Vermont, you can afford an increase in fees from the little town of Plymouth. It's not gonna hurt your bottom line that much. And that's my opinion.
I agree.
Then we need, sorry, Bruce?
Well, looking at what Woodstock is charging, I don't know how they get away with that or what they base that on, but I should think we should be charging more than we do.
Well, I have one more comment on this too. I remember before we even had a committee for the short-term rental, one of the statements I made at a select board meeting was, I remember Sean Demus was here, and I said, instead, because the comment was, well, why don't we see what other towns do? So I responded with that, and I said, why do we want to be followers instead of being a leader? And I think we have been leaders, kind of, sort of, with the short-term rental. And I think we should stay on that path.
So you can't compare apples to oranges either. I mean, Charlie sitting there, I can tell you, I mean, Woodstock is a hotel, strong hotel lobby that had a big influence in crafting their STR ordinance because they didn't want the competition per se. Killington, it's a different ball of wax. You got a lot of business and hotels up there. I mean, we're kind of we have a handful of businesses here, and it's a more of a second home community kind of deal. So you're disproportionately putting the burden on people that have second homes. So
you want a proposal?
Yeah, I think we need to make a proposal to amend the ordinance.
All right. We're currently paying or charging $400 per bedroom now. Is that correct, Frank?
I think it's
200.
200. Yeah.
And $100 for additional training.
And then $200 per bedroom. Okay.
Yeah.
I would make a proposal that we increase the fee for non-occupied resident short-term rentals to $600 flat fee versus $200.
not a factor of bedrooms.
Yes.
Are you saying 600 base and then so much per bedroom on top of that?
No, there is a base fee already, but instead of $200 per bedroom, which is in the ordinance now, I'm proposing of $600 per bedroom for non-occupied owner residents, or non-resident owners, I should say. Now, if the floor feels that can be amended and that's too high, that's fine, let's hear from you. But there's a start.
And I think our base fee should probably be $800. Yeah, we have our base registration fee. That's like, everybody has one, West, not that we have to follow others, but West Windsor's 150, ours is 400.
Okay, that's
Woodstock non-owner is 3,000. That ends up being about 42,000 in income per capita, which assumes 70 houses.
Can you say that again? I lost you.
Total gross of $42,000.
Oh, that increase?
No, the total income for the town for short-term rental.
Now,
At that, go at $600 per house,
okay,
would be 42,000.
okay.
What is the size of the house? How many bedrooms are normal?
Three. I think the average house is 3.
So you're saying $600 plus $100 per bedroom?
No.
Somebody has $8 bedrooms.
We could.
Then you're losing money.
Yeah.
You're getting less than you.
That was not a lump sum, was it?
No,
No, he said
So that was 600 plus 100 per bedroom?
yes, no. I thought the base fee was 100 for the application fee, or is it 150, 200?
200 for the
And then it's 200 per bedroom? 100 per bedroom. All right, I was proposing 600 per bedroom.
600 per bedroom?
And that's what I was proposing.
With the $200
Yes, there's still
for
this
application.
application fee stands.
I think that's a reasonable jump, given the fact that it had to start somewhere, really had nothing to base it on, but now seeing what other towns do charge, that's not exorbitant, knowing what they're able to make on these properties. My concern would be, how do you go about identifying new instances of rentals?
So that would be Frank.
Yes. It's the hardest part of the job.
Is it a voluntary thing?
It was voluntary up to the point where you get to the resistors. And when you start dealing with the resistors,
With a larger fee.
90% of the people are happy to pay, or they'll sign up and, but there's a hardcore of people who aren't here because we're doing different enforcement activities.
A little something as well, because I know that we have some, if somebody is in violation, it's how do we take care of it? And one of my thoughts was, in the original discussions, was to have, whoever the administrator is to get a percentage of whatever that fine would be. So there's motivation, that, cash is a good motivator. So if it was a $1,000 fine, it might be 20%, whatever that is, just to follow up and do the paperwork and follow through on that.
I like that idea. Maybe we could, let's take Craig's comment, maybe we table this
Okay,
until our next meeting with just a couple, we'll bring in the ordinance with some edits.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And I can give you more statistics, what we have currently, so if it's okay.
Great.
Yeah, so not to go on about this, but on the onset of this whole discussion years ago, I always thought this was about safety. And I always said, we have to be careful it doesn't turn into an income stream. To me, I think it's incorrect, long-term, to turn it into an income stream for the town. I don't really care about Woodstock's policies or Rutland's or anybody else. I think the town has to make its own decisions and like it's, be our own leaders, okay? If we have a school budget problem, if we have a town tax problem, if we have a bulldozer problem, whatever our problems are, those are our problems that we contain. I don't think using other people's short-term solutions, okay, to a long-term challenge, okay? What's the percentage, Frank, of out-of-state homeowners in this town?
65%.
65%. I mean, come on. Are we really gonna, that's a very large group of people that don't have a vote in this town. Are we gonna upset the apple cart? Okay, 65% of people, they're not here, they're not complaining about anything, they're just paying a tax bill. They come up on the weekend, they go skiing or they go canoeing, whatever. You never hear from them, okay? To upset the apple cart and look at it as an income stream, I think is a big mistake, long-term and short-term. That's, and to add fees per bedroom, like you said, some people have 8 bedrooms. And I just think we're going in the wrong direction. I think it started out for safety, the fire marshal and all this, and it's turned into exactly what it wasn't supposed to be, which was an income stream.
I voted for it on the basis of what was proposed 2 years ago. Safety, people, bears getting in garbage, people camping out in houses, too many people, starting, chimney fires. Yeah, it makes sense to police what's going on and make sure that, the fire department's not overburdened. But yeah, it's become now, the state level thinking, Montpelier level, let's tap into another revenue stream. It's here, let's exploit it. That's the same, these people are paying 60-something% of the people out-of-state homeowners. Think about how much money, most of the money going up to Montpelier for school taxes is coming out of their pockets. So, and the state happily takes it all, because let's feed it into the union and everything else. So we're doing the same thing here at the town level that's done at the Montpelier level. The Vermont way, let's just tap into it and take it because it's there. I would totally just, agree with what you just said. We should not be exploiting second homeowners. Most of these houses are all, high dollar house, they're not houses an average person's family's gonna be able to afford anyway. They're there because it's a lake house in Vermont that people have worked hard to procure and wanna come and ski and do whatever they wanna do. So, again, apples and oranges, housing crisis, fine, these are not housing crisis houses for the most part.
So Bruce, then Margot, and then we're gonna transition to Charlie.
There is a difference, when I hear what you're saying, but the fact remains, I own my house and I'm not making any money on it, I'm paying my taxes. You buy a house in order to make money on it, then maybe your end game is to move into it when you retire, who knows if that's gonna happen or not. But in the meantime, you have an income stream. It's not unreasonable for the town to tax that income because we offer the same services to that house owner, not a home to that person, but we offer the same services both in fire, police, whatever, the roads. Why can't they pay a tax on the money that they're making?
Well, they are paying tax ultimately. They're gonna be paying income tax, they're gonna be paying federal income tax, state income tax.
Yeah, but this is the town cost. What do you pay downtown from a tax also because of the services that the town provides?
Any second homeowner in the town already pays municipal taxes. I mean, they're paying taxes too, just like I pay taxes for living in the town. Everybody pays taxes. Why, this is an additional tax.
You're not making any money on your house.
There you go. Well, maybe, maybe. Well, how many people, how many second homeowners are making a killing on their house? If you're buying a second home here and maybe rent it out to pay the taxes and the mortgage and are you making money or is it all just a wash?
If I was doing that, I'm sure as hell I'd be making money.
The journey of a landlord is often fraught with, not making a whole lot of money and just paying paying your way through it and just making it's like anything. It's any business.
Margot?
I think we've had enough for tonight. Already agreed on that. Apparently a little difference of opinion, but they do pay a slightly lesser tax than we do also. So let's move on.
If the average person makes 20,000 and the fee's 1,000, that's a 5% tax. I mean, the question is not whether they pay a fee, the question is how much. Are we gonna charge them 15, 20% fee? I mean, it's almost like a percentage that you have to keep. You can't make the rule that way, but I think a 5% fee is pretty substantial.
It's pretty hefty.
Wow, okay, wow. The work is grown. Where do you want me? Here?
Sure.
Right. So, thank you. I recognize, I used to be the state representative. I haven't been for the past 2 years, and I recognize that Steve Redonis is also running for state representative. But the reason I wanted to just sit in and find out what's going on in Plymouth, and also to talk about education funding. So I'm having a forum on October 17th with the chair of the House Committee on Education and the chair of the House Committee on Ways and Means, the Tax Committee. And they're coming to Woodstock to talk about how does the state fund education and is the state going to provide any kind of aid to school construction. So clearly, Plymouth is, I think, second highest for tax rate in the state. And Woodstock is third, Killington is first. It all has to do with the CLA and where we are. I know in Woodstock our reappraisal starts next year. It's a 2-year process, so we're not going to get any relief from that. And the system is just broken. Our school taxes went up by 30% in Woodstock, 35% here, 28% in Killington. That's unsustainable. So the system that we have is clearly broken. There have been a lot of studies, and there's 2 more studies going on right now, about what's a better system. There was one report that got issued in 2019, and it was the Tax Structure Commission saying, let's do away with the education property tax, and let's go with a regional income tax on residents, but also then just have a flat rate on second homes or other types of property. So that hasn't seen the full light of day, even though it was 5 years ago that the final report got issued. COVID happened in between. And so there's been a lot of discussion around that. So that will come to the fore in the coming months, and I expect there to be legislation, there should be legislation introduced for January about changing how we fund education. I made a proposal in the legislature at one point, they only pay based on what you paid for your property, not about what the new assessed value is. Similar to Proposition 13 in California, that didn't go anywhere. So there are some other ideas, but there's no perfect solution for it. So it's the forum on October 17th. I'm happy, I've studied this issue more than I care to admit, and happy to talk about some of the parameters of it if you want to open that up.
Can you, where is the meeting going to be?
Oh, at Woodstock Town Hall in the upstairs, and we're also going to have it on Zoom. The room handles 60 to 70 people. I anticipate it being full.
And who's going to be on the speaking floor?
So I'm the moderator. I've moderated a few things, so I'm going to be apolitical when I do this. The 2 people are Peter Conlon, he's head of the House Committee on Education, and he's also on the new Commission on the Future of Public Education, State of Vermont. And Emily Kornheiser, who's head of the Tax Committee in the House, and she's on the subcommittee for how do you fund education.
Can you get the Zoom address?
Yes, I'll send it by email to the town. Is that right? Yeah.
What time is the meeting?
6 to 7:30. And those are old colleagues of mine, so I promised them drinks and dinner, and that's the only reason why they're coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I get, my one point, I think, is that I think median household income in Windsor County is $80,000. Is that about right, 70?
There's a little lower than that.
70,000. I'd just like to see, you know, a diverse group of people be able to live in our town. That's what I often think about. A diverse group of people, economically diverse, live in our town.
Well, one of the things, Charlie, I know a lot of committees, from my understanding, though, it's almost like the deck is stacked with principals association, everybody that's in that education. Of course, they're the experts, but maybe bringing more diversity to that would be part of the solution, certainly not the all.
Whatever they recommend has to pass through the legislature and it has to be in coordination with the governor. But I don't think anybody would say that the system is working well. Right. And it's expensive, it takes time, and it's unpredictable. And that's one of the things about the education property tax is that when you vote your school budget, you don't always know how it's going to affect you, especially if you have income sensitized. If you pay it based on your income instead of based on the value of your property, you don't know what it's going to be. The credit that goes against your property tax is based on the income from the previous year.
Right.
Like, okay. It's very confusing, and then when 70% roughly of people who are primary residents get some kind of credit against the property tax, then it's really a tax that's broken, when 70% have an exception to it, anyway. The idea was it would be progressively done so that people would have some kind of escape valve if the tax was more than 2%. That's when it was first implemented in 1997. But that escape valve is pretty high right now.
You talking about the homestead exemption?
Not the homestead exemption, but if you pay based on your income, then the original intent was that you should pay no more than 2% of your income for property taxes. And that's how it's set. So when the legislature tries to figure out what the yield is to come up with that number, they actually start with how much money they have to raise. Just to go back to it, the legislature is forced to raise money to pay for the school budgets that are passed by every school district in the state. So that's how I feel.
This is their chair.
Oh, man. So
Pretty loud.
So the school budgets, initially, the tax commissioner has an idea of what they're gonna be, so they issue a letter December 1st saying, we think it's gonna go up by so much. And last year was 20% in December 1st. And then the actual school budgets come out and they said, actually, the increase is less than that, because a lot of school budgets, school districts actually reduce their spending. But then you come up with, how are you gonna pay for that? So the legislature can't tell schools, no, you can't spend that much money. Couple caveats. And then they just have to figure out how to raise it. So it's doing the math. So that's where they just figure out, okay, the yield has to be this. So the other thing that is that the actual tax on second or non-primary residences is the same across commercial property, second home. But that is higher in most towns. It's only lower in 74 of the 261 taxing districts. Of course, that's mostly resort towns. So there's always a complaint, the second homeowners are paying less than primary homeowners. That's true in 74 or 75 towns.
Is that true? Yes.
I believe it is.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a few like Fairhaven does it, I mean, there was a few of them, I was thinking of that.
Yeah. So anyway. So come to the forum.
I was just gonna say, I've been here since I was 60, way back when, a few of us can remember those days, and every time, we've had school choice, and then they came up with the redistricting, which Plymouth used to be Ludlow, Plymouth, Mount Holly. And then we had school choice, so we had, a lot of people went to Woodstock, I'd say maybe half, maybe more than half the kids. There was a few of us that went, I just went to Proctor, because I worked over there. And then, you know, we had a chance to keep school choice. Of course, our town voted it out. So, and also now, they're talking about closing all the schools that Cavendish, Ludlow. So where do these kids go? They're getting further and further apart, there's no, you know, it's.
Yeah, so Act 46 forced the consolidation of school districts.
Right, didn't work.
With the idea was going to reduce expenses and improve outcomes.
And it did not.
And that's.
And then we're gonna teach our children how to read.
Well, you know,
They say that every time, isn't it?
Now, look at the commute for kids that are in grammar school. I mean, look how long, now you gotta get them up early, you gotta get them on a bus.
Yeah.
You're putting them at risk for travel, you know, so.
So there are a few things. If somebody says we're just going to consolidate and we're going to save a lot of money, you have to really question that.
Well, yeah, some of us did. We didn't get anywhere.
So, and what does it do for the quality of life for the kids that are in school?
Yeah, the parents who are working in Rutland and you got their kids in Woodstock.
Well, I mean, speaking to Karen's points earlier, I mean, I appreciate your efforts. I think we all do, but I mean, if we're gonna study this and study that, can we boil this down to some of the root causes? Wouldn't consolidation be one of the primary drivers of increased education costs as we see it? Because, I mean, at face value, we're trying to fund a methodology that doesn't necessarily work in the tiny state of Vermont. When we had control here, or, you know, Reading has control of their own school budget and they fund their own little school, it's a lot different than sending the money to Montpelier to the teachers union that gets, you know, as Allison saying, you know, we have to fund a 16% increase in healthcare costs. I mean, okay, that's great for the small little, you know, the teachers, great, more, sure. But I mean, the problem, you know, we can tinker how we're gonna pay for all this great stuff, but can we afford it? I don't think so. Not at current income levels across the state.
You know, I think everything's on the table. Nothing should be off the table. So when somebody is talking about how do you lower cost of education, that's one discussion. How do you pay for it's another one. So in terms of lowering the cost of education, the reality is we've got more adults in our schools when you're looking at your student to adult ratio than most any other state. And it's not just teachers, it's professional staff, it's everything. And a lot of that is because of the number of buildings that we have. Because there's just a small, you have to have a certain number of people in the classroom in order to make it work, no matter how many kids you have. So there's a minimum. So that is one of the issues. How we fund career technical education centers is another issue. So there's a lot of things about where are we spending money? Universal meal program, should we be paying for that? Unfunded mandates from the state about do you have to have certain coordinators in the school district? Good questions. Don't know the answer to those. And that's a value judgment like universal health.
Oh, it's a huge issue, right? I mean, that was COVID money and now it's permanent. How, I mean, it's great, sure. I mean, my own kid has gotten to be up, but how are we gonna pay for that?
It's definitely, and it's not uniform. So I was talking to somebody who said, yeah, someone's on the school board and said, my kid should not be getting free meals. And I was at an event the other night and said, these free meals are the best thing that ever happened to education. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's just, and in the legislature, maybe it was the free money from ARPA at the time, but it was also a very strongly held belief among some in education that this is the best thing we can do to remove stigmas and equalize education among all students.
It used to be income-based.
And there's still a federal program for income-based. So this is in addition to it.
Yeah.
So it's not an
And
easy
they
one.
provide it all summer, so it's year round.
Yep.
So serious. Yeah, shift it around. It's not gonna fall down.
I'll provide you with a date. How's the easiest way to distribute that info? About the
From the clerk's office,
Okay.
post it on the website.
Yeah, put it on the website. and,
Okay.
Thanks for coming to speak with us.
You wanna put it on? You're gonna put it on the website and you can put it on the website?
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Next on our agenda is just an update about a letter regarding the taxes of Bethany Burgess Camp. This has come up a couple times, and it's a 2017 letter from the State Department of Taxes. A couple residents had asked about this. We ran this by our town's attorney. They said because the town had voted on this, this is a letter from the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State's office isn't going to do anything at this point. They believed that there is an error from on the behalf of the Secretary of State and how they classified Bethany Burgess Camp. And in addition, the town having voted on forgiving the taxes for the camp, they said nobody will overturn this. So this is ironclad until the next election. So we have closure.
Well, it wasn't on all the taxes, correct? Wasn't it just the education side?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's good for 5 years to go to, correct? So it's not until 5-year term is up.
Yep, so this old piece of evidence from 2017 is any good, according to our attorney. I'm gonna see if you try to. Yeah, Brandon?
You were asking sort of for the floor's opinion in the STR. May I do the same?
Sure.
Our Bethany Burgess Camp Board of Directors, as Pepper pointed out, she said, if you want to be good neighbors, just pay your taxes. And our board is saying, well, we want to be good neighbors. We're a nonprofit that usually wouldn't pay taxes. The state's very aggressive with property taxes, as we've been discussing here tonight. And I understand this is what you just said. In fact, we had some board members who said, oh, we can't even talk about it. So I guess I'm just sort of raising, like, if there was anything that could be done, would that be of value? Before 4 years from now.
Anybody have a comment? Elaine?
I think that having a petition, the way it has been done the last 2 times, was a mistake. It should be on the ballot to be voted on by everybody who comes in to vote on election day. It should not be voted by hand at the town meeting. Fewer people attend a town meeting than come to vote. And it is a matter of taxation, so it needs to be done in a way in which everybody has an option to do that.
It's really about.
It could be it could be a regular, be on the official ballot, it could be.
It needs to be on the ballot in order to be voted on.
Just a matter of we've done other issues that way, like when we did the cannabis issue, it was on the ballot, so it can be.
So what was the reason that it wasn't able to be on the ballot this year?
I think it was picked out of the budget, if I remember correctly. Somebody looked at the pages, like, so much is given to the Tyson Library, so much is given to whatever charity. And I believe in there.
Never been, it's always been.
I think it was an issue of the select board not, I think it was, like with the cannabis thing, we decided we were gonna put it to the wider town on the ballot, we just didn't do that with this issue.
It's always been hand voted as long as I've been in town.
But we could.
I'm saying it always has been hand voted at town meeting as long as I've lived here, and I've been here 47 years.
It's happened twice, it's not happened twice.
It seems to me that anything that affects everybody in the town, such as that vote for Bethany Burgess did, it needs to be voted by everybody. So everybody has to have the opportunity. Now, you might argue everybody had the opportunity to come to the town meeting, but that's not the same as having all day long in which to find the time to come to the town hall and cast your vote. town meeting is at a specific
So
time, and not everybody can make that.
I think we agreed to that, right? We still have town meeting, but vote things we need to vote on while Right.
Spirit of the discussion, yeah, that we would, in the future,
we're in
it
agreement.
would be an issue, we go, we put it on the ballot.
But do we have to do something to make that the way it's done from now on?
I think we agree that we want to put everything on a,
That we would.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't any, I mean, to be, there was no pressure from anyone, I mean, until the petition, there was no pressure that we should put it on the ballot, it was just, it's gonna be a town meeting again, like it was the first time, so. Put it on the ballot, it wasn't even an issue.
so all future articles, right, go on ballot.
Yeah.
Is there some method that can be put into place to
They have
assure everybody that that's the way it will be from now on? Anything that affects everybody's taxes shall be on.
I would say any town meeting article should be on the ballot.
Can we
That's what we
discuss it,
discussed.
however, at town meeting? Can we set aside a
think
time
the
to
board-
do that so it can be talked about?
I
We
believe
discussed
so.
at town meeting, that means we can't do it for another year.
We can do it, we have the power as a select board.
The downside of putting an article on a ballot is you can't amend it. At town meeting, you can amend it.
That's right.
So if you have $500 going to this charity and somebody wants to change it to $400, you can't do that if it's on a ballot, it's either up or down, yes or no. So, I mean, maybe, this is all good conversation, but maybe we should put a limit on what goes on a ballot, a certain dollar amount, and then the rest can be voted on the floor as articles.
So have a maximum of.
They got one, so just, they're almost done.
That's the guys from the state making all that noise.
Well, that was I think you all heard me say that before, that if
Yeah,
you
you did.
take things off of town meeting, then there's no way to amend it. We've lost, I've stood up before and amended our school budget over the years. We have no choice anywhere. Town is the only thing we have a choice in to say in on that town meeting night. So it's a big controversy, between between everybody, so. But the board, I believe, if someone presents a petition, I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But I want to say, I thought you can pick and choose.
Well, when you petition it, I think you can.
Right, when it's petitioned, I think you can.
Is people should plan ahead, and if they're going to want, such as Beth and Emergence wanted to have a 5-year moratorium on their education tax, perhaps that's something they might have brought up a year in advance at a town meeting where it can be discussed and once decided on the language, put on the next ballot.
I don't think you can change that rules because it would not follow statute.
Well, you're not gonna change what? You're not gonna change what's already happened.
Asking them to have it a year in advance.
Well, maybe we can just say, do you think, Angela, we would have our articles generally ready by January?
This is like working with children, sorry.
Yeah, they're working in the fire department. Working in the fire department.
I know when we did that, then for me, I don't know how it was done 5 years ago. Other towns have it, are voting on town meeting day.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a statute that requires it has to, certain things have to be there or don't. I don't know the answer to that, but.
I follow what other towns have done, and do, and they do for 5 years, and so.
Yeah, as long as we shouldn't get there's a petition presented, but whether they have the authority or, I don't know where that goes.
I think we should research it a little more.
Didn't we talk about having a pre-meeting to discuss the budget before the actual town meeting
Yeah.
anyway?
That was all nice. That's helpful.
His concern is that letter from 2017, that's effectively null and void then?
At least on, what people have been pointing out, which was this paragraph. It's next to the last. I think it's the one. So it's just not gonna hold up. Yeah. And like they said, town voted, so Secretary of State's office isn't gonna interfere with that. Next on the agenda, we have board to review and possibly approve opting out of homestead declaration late fee. I'm not, who, is this one that you put out, Angela, for us, or?
We did that.
When people file their homestead exemption late, there's a penalty. And it was new to us this year that the town actually gets the funds for that, so that penalty. On down here, but the select board has to vote on it annually to do that. So that's what Sherry is asking for you to do.
We opted out of it in 2021.
We did?
When Sandy was still here, yeah, because it was, I actually introduced it on the floor at town meeting.
So I'm guessing you want to opt out of it again?
Yeah, we did opt, I didn't realize it was a retroactive thing, you have to do it every year, but we did, we have.
You want to make a motion?
Sure, I make a motion, we get out of it.
Yeah, I'll second that. You go to that, Rick?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Okay, review and possibly approve bid for demolition and site stabilization of 4283 Route 100. And this is to be done with state administered federal funds.
Who bid on it?
Yes. Give you those.
Bob Dean and
Yeah.
Art Lyons, I think.
So down on Route 100, the bus property that was destroyed by the floods? Yep. Yep.
You're the chair.
The car's
You
got
guys open them.
All right, doesn't matter. Here. No.
Yeah, the car's got them. And the rocks, I was impressed. Wow. I didn't see the car there tonight. And all the
No?
rocks were up. It's still in there. No, it's not.
Windows are gone, doors are gone.
I have a first bid here from Bob Dean. The bid form appears to be complete, and his bottom line is $42,450. $42,450. There's his bottom line.
58,700.
Parent low bidders, Bob Dean.
Who was that?
Able Waste. Okay.
No difference in the bids, right?
No, they both appear to be complete.
Awesome, all right. Do we have to make a motion to approve the bid?
I'll make a motion to approve Bob Dean's bid. $42,450.
I'll second that.
Is that within the grant? Okay, good.
Spelled references wrong.
Yeah. Gotta love it.
Item number 11, review and possibly approve contract with Tag Impact. I'm behind on that still, Angela,
Okay.
but I'll have it ready this week.
Number 10.
Number 12 is begin finance budget discussion. And the first part of that is reviewing last year's budget. Did you get copies of this? Last year's budget packet?
Maybe. Did we? No. Okay.
Which one? This is,
Oh, yeah, did you skip 10 on the agenda?
What's on 10?
Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I? I did skip 10, all right. Review and, it said bid. Review and possibly approve bid for bridge embankment reinforcement and rock removal at Dublin Bridge. I did see another envelope.
That's Sailor, isn't it? Or it's Mosier.
Yeah, it's the only bid we got. Jeff declined.
Really?
He was invited, he declined. Yeah. We're running out of season, it's getting late, and we've got so much to do. All right, so we have a bid from Mosier. $43,244. And I think that's the only bid we have for that project.
Okay.
Who did you say it was from?
Sorry?
Mosier.
Mosier.
And that's for that engineered thing, right? Yeah, what the engineers came up with?
No, that's that bridge by Davis where that big boulder's ready to.
Up by Cato.
Yes, by Cato. So it's removal and breaking up that boulder that's gonna clog that culvert and then reinforcing the bank with riprap.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid.
I'll second.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
No competition. That one.
All right.
When do they start that?
He's gonna start next week.
Is the bridge gonna be closed?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, so that brings us to the budget. You all have copies of it. This is till, up through till June 30th of 2024. This is what has been sent to our auditors. And I actually have one with a markup. I've gone through this pretty closely, and I think it might make sense for me to get you copies with a markup on it.
Okay.
And questions. So there's a lot to look at, and it's probably, I don't know if we're gonna get to productive conversation this evening. What do you think? Do you wanna take a shot at it, or do you wanna wait until you've had a chance to read it and look at it at the next
I would
meeting?
rather wait.
All right with you, Keith?
When are we waiting until?
Sorry?
Waiting until the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe I can have you scan these afterward to those guys? Because I've got a bunch of comments and we'll send it to Cynthia and Cherry as well. Okay. Cherry couldn't be here this evening.
So can you
Oh, this is all the
just
flawed
talk a
stuff?
little bit about the time process for the budget? Is there a point where we can at least listen in on, your discussion and?
Do we need to set a separate budget meeting, or do we do it in a regular select board meeting?
I don't know.
Probably we're gonna need a little more time.
Yeah.
We'll warn a special meeting.
Perfect.
And I think after our next select board meeting, they've had a chance to review it in detail on my comments, then we'll set a date for that special meeting. Yep.